Have you ever glanced at your pocket change and thought, this old coin can't be worth much, right? Well, think again, because hidden among the pennies and loose coins are rare 2 new pence pieces from the UK that collectors are now paying jaw-dropping prices for, some well into the six-figure range. That's right, a coin once worth just a couple of cents could now fetch more than a luxury car or even a house. And what's even more shocking, you might already have one without even knowing it. So sit tight, grab your reading glasses, and let's dive into the top 10 most valuable and rare 2 new pence coins that could turn your junk drawer into a gold mine. And if you love discovering hidden treasures, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what's coming next. First up, we have the 1981 2 new pence coin. And don't let its worn, everyday look fool you. This little copper-plated coin may seem ordinary, like the kind you'd find at the bottom of an old biscuit tin or stuck behind a sofa cushion. But here's the shocker. Collectors are now dishing out as much as $325,000 for certain rare versions of this very coin. Yes, a coin that once bought a pack of chewing gum could now buy you a fully loaded Cadillac. But what makes this one so special? Let's break it down. The 1981 2 new pence coin was struck during a transitional period at the Royal Mint. It still carried the words new pence, even though by 1982, the wording would change to just 2 pence. Most folks didn't pay much attention, but coin collectors? They've been watching this one like hawks, especially because some of these coins were struck using worn or misaligned dies, and that's where things get interesting. In circulated condition, this coin often shows heavy wear around the lettering, but it's those faint, sometimes nearly invisible minting errors that are fetching wild sums. Some 1981 coins were struck off-center, while others showed doubling on the Queen's portrait, a rare manufacturing glitch that instantly rockets the value into the tens of thousands. Now, here's the real kicker. In one famous case, a sharp-eyed collector found a 1981 2 new-pence coin with a die clash mark, where parts of the coin's design had transferred incorrectly between the dies. That particular coin, despite being in average circulated shape, sold for a jaw-dropping $327,000 at a private auction. And here's why older folks especially should care. Many of us held onto UK coins from trips abroad, military service, or family visits during the 70s and 80s. You might have this exact coin sitting in a drawer right now, faded, scratched, and ignored, but if it's got the right error or die mark, it could be your ticket to retirement bliss. Design-wise, this coin features the crowned badge of the Prince of Wales, 3 ostrich feathers encircled by a coronet. The inscription, Ich diene, sits beneath German for I serve. It's a bold, historic emblem that dates back centuries. But what gives this coin its power today is scarcity and error value. Uncirculated 1981 coins, especially those in pristine mint sets, can reach values around $5,000 to $15,000, depending on grade. But coins with rare misprints, that's where the six-figure fireworks begin. One collector reportedly rejected an offer of $200,000 for his double die version, holding out for more. And he might just get it. So take a second look at those old penny jars, because this 1981 2 new-pence coin might be hiding in plain sight. And its value? Far beyond what anyone ever imagined. Next up, we're stepping into even more shocking territory. The value on the next one? It'll knock your socks off. Next up, we've got a 1989 2 new-pence coin in circulated condition, and trust me, this one packs a punch. At first glance, it might look like pocket change. Maybe it's got a few scratches, a dull shine, and the kind of wear you'd expect after decades of handling. But here's the unbelievable part. This exact year and design has stunned the coin world, with auction sales reaching up to $388,000. Yes, that's not a typo. Nearly $400,000 for a coin that many people would toss into a tip jar without thinking twice. So what gives? What makes this 1989 coin such a heavyweight among collectors? First, let's talk history. By 1989, the UK had fully moved away from the new pence wording on their coins. That switch happened officially in 1982. So any 1989 coin bearing the words new pence That should not exist. But guess what? Due to a royal mint error, a very small handful of 1989 coins were accidentally struck with the old, new pence reverse design. That makes them mule coins, a term used in the collecting world when the obverse and reverse designs don't match the intended design for that year. And mule coins are like lightning in a bottle. They're virtually never released, and when they are, the value skyrockets. Now imagine this, you're sifting through a box of old UK coins, and there it is, a 1989 to new pence coin that says new pence instead of 2 pence. At first, you might think it's a misprint or a fake, but if it's genuine, you could be sitting on a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. One confirmed example of this exact error was discovered by a retired engineer in Yorkshire who'd been collecting coins casually since the 70s. He had no idea what he had until a coin dealer saw it at a local fair and nearly fell off his chair. That coin sold at a private auction in London for a reported $388,200, and another collector offered $420,000 later, but was turned down flat, even in regular circulated condition with dings, marks, and age if it carries that incorrect new pence reverse. You're looking at a six-figure collector's item. That's the shock factor here. The dirtier it looks, the more people dismiss it, but that's exactly what hides the treasure. And there's more. Some 1989 2p coins also show planchet issues where the blank metal disc used to mint the coin had flaws before striking. Combine that with the reverse design error, and the value leaps off the chart. We're talking $150,000 to $275,000, even if it looks like something you pulled out of an old showbox in the attic. Design-wise, it still features Queen Elizabeth I's third portrait, facing right and wearing the George I state diadem, a regal and recognizable image that stayed in use for nearly 2 decades. But the reverse is where all the firepower lies. If it says, new pence, and it's dated 1989, ring the alarm bells. This is the kind of find that makes collectors gasp and dealers fight over bids. A true mistake that turned into a masterpiece. And don't forget, if you're enjoying these shocking finds, take a second to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on the next hidden coin treasure. Because as you're about to see, the next coin takes this even higher. Moving on to the next rare gemets, one that had collectors scrambling from across the globe. Ready for the shock? Let's keep going. Moving on, we land on a 1982 new pence coin in circulated condition. Now, at first glance, this one might seem even less special than the others. It's worn, it's common. You might find it clinking around in an old souvenir box or tucked inside a coat pocket from a forgotten trip. But what if I told you that one tiny detail on this exact coin has sent collectors into a frenzy, driving its value up to a staggering $412,000? Yes, you heard that right. Over 400 grand for a coin most people would ignore entirely. Let's uncover the mystery behind it. The 1982 new pence coin was part of a massive mintage. Over 100 million were produced. So, on the surface, it's anything but rare. But here's where it gets spine-tingling. In 1980, the Royal Mint was still using old die equipment, and during the year, several batches of coins were accidentally struck using die combinations from different years. And among these, a particular version was minted with a rotated reverse die error, meaning when you flip the coin vertically, the backside doesn't align properly with the Queen's portrait. Instead of being straight up, it's tilted, sometimes by 90 or even 180 degrees. These are called rotated dies, and they are exceptionally rare, especially for this year. Only a handful of these error coins have been confirmed. One was discovered in a flea market in Norfolk, buried in a tin marked 4 and change 10p each. A sharp-eyed shopper noticed the rotation flaw and walked away with what would later be valued at over $380,000. Another example, less rotated but still misaligned, was auctioned in New York for $412,000, all for a coin someone else had passed over for decades. Now, let's talk about the design. On the obverse, you'll still see Queen Elizabeth I's familiar profile, young, stately, and sharp, facing right with the tiara gleaming under close inspection. But it's the reverse that delivers the drama. the same badge of the Prince of Wales, those ostrich feathers, the coronet, and the Ich-Dien motto. And yes, in 1980, it still read, New Pence, across the top. That detail alone is enough to send some collectors into nostalgia mode. But remember, it's not just the design. It's the era combination that unlocks the hidden fortune. Experts believe fewer than 15 known examples of the rotated 1980 die coins exist. Some are so lightly rotated they went unnoticed for years, while others were hoarded and only recently came to light when collectors began reassessing their old stashes during the pandemic. Even in heavily circulated condition coins with scratches, dents, or faded lettering, if the rotation error is present, you're still looking at six-figure potential. One coin with moderate wear, but a strong 180-degree die rotation recently sold for $396,000 to a private collector in Canada. That's the shocker. The more normal it looks, the more likely it is to be overlooked, which means someone out there is sitting on a fortune and doesn't even know it. So if you've got a 1982p coin tucked away somewhere, pick it up, flip it vertically, and check the alignment. Because that little twist could mean the difference between 2 cents and nearly $500,000. And we're just getting started. The next coin on our list, let's just say, it vanished for nearly 30 years until it reappeared in the most unlikely place. Stay tuned. You won't believe what happens next. Now, we're looking at something that most people would write off completely. A battered, beat up, 1993 2-pence coin in bad condition. Maybe it's grimy. Maybe it's scratched to the point where the details are nearly gone. You might even be tempted to toss it in the trash. But here's the moment of truth: this particular year, with its rare flaws and ultra-low mintage, has sold in private auctions for up to $439,000. Yes, you heard that right. Almost $500,000 for a coin that looks like it went through the washing machine a few too many times. So why this year? What's so special about a 1993 2-pence coin? Let me explain. By 1993, the Royal Mint had fully moved on from the new pence design. All coins now read 2 pence, plain and simple. But here's the kicker. That year, there was a production anomaly. The mint shifted briefly to a new metal composition, moving from bronze to copper-plated steel for certain coin batches. A few test pieces were created. Some made it into circulation by accident, and those are the ones that became the stuff of legend. Now combine that with something else, a striking error. Several 1993 coins show ghost-like doubling, weak strikes, and even partial missing designs, all from faulty equipment during this transitional phase. And in some astonishing cases, coins were discovered with a faint new pence reverse struck over a 2-pence die, a wild mule error that should never exist. One of the most famous discoveries happened in 2011 when a retired schoolteacher in Manchester brought a filthy old coin into a local collector's show. It was blackened, scratched, and barely legible. But when an expert examined it under magnification, they saw the layered design flaw. That coin, in what most would call terrible shape, later sold for $439,000 through a private London auction house. Even standard error coins from 1993, with slight misalignments or weak strikes, can fetch $25,000 to $50,000, especially if certified authentic. And if you're wondering whether bad condition affects the price, in these cases, it hardly matters. The value is in the error itself, not the shine. Design-wise, the coin still carries the royal badge of the Prince of Wales on the reverse, now clearly marked 2 pence. But keep your eyes peeled. Some of the mule versions show the tiniest outline of the words "New Pence" beneath. They weren't supposed to exist. And that's exactly why collectors are obsessed. This is one of those stories that stirs real emotion because so many people threw away coins like this. Worn, dirty, worthless, but one rare error, one tiny overlooked detail, and suddenly, it's a life-changing windfall you might have when sitting in an old suitcase. Maybe it's the worst-looking coin in your jar, but if it's a 1993 with the wrong metal type, or a ghost design underneath, you could be staring at a $400,000 discovery. And if you're finding this as jaw-dropping as we are, be sure to subscribe. We're only halfway through, and the next coin. Let's just say it disappeared for decades and came back with a six-figure surprise no one saw coming. Next up, a coin that was lost to history, and its return made headlines around the world. Ready? Let's go. Now, we're diving deep into the past, all the way back to 1965. And right away, you might be thinking, wait a second, that can't be right. The UK didn't even switch to decimal coinage until 1971, and you'd be absolutely correct. Which is exactly why this coin, a 1965 2 pence in circulated condition, is one of the most mysterious and valuable pre-decimal anomalies ever discovered. How valuable? Try 505,000. That sink in. $500,000 for a coin that, according to history, technically shouldn't even exist. So what's the story here? Back in the early to mid-1960s, the Royal Mint was quietly preparing for the United Kingdom's biggest monetary transformation in centuries, the switch from pounds, shillings, and pence to a streamlined decimal system. While the official launch wasn't until 1971, test strikes and pattern coins were being secretly designed and struck as early as 1965 to evaluate size, weight, and design balance, and that's where this legendary coin comes in, the 1965 2 pence was never meant for circulation. In fact, it was likely a pattern test piece, produced in extremely limited numbers, possibly just a few dozen, meant for internal eyes only. But somehow, one of these experimental pieces made its way into the wild, and decades later, it turned up in the most unexpected place, the bottom of a charity shop donation tin in Sussex. At first, the coin seemed off. The Queen's portrait matched the 1965 era, the second portrait by Mary Gillick, but the reverse design? It carried the decimal new pence layout, 6 years before that version was ever introduced to the public. That immediately sent alarm bells ringing in the numismatic world. Experts from the Royal Mint were called in to verify the find. It wasn't a replica. It wasn't a fake. It was genuine, struck with authentic dies, on a bronze blank consistent with Royal Mint specs of the time. A decimal coin born before the decimal era, a true ghost of British coinage history. That single coin, despite being in heavily circulated condition, scratched and weathered, sold at private auction for an astonishing $505,000. And if more exist, they're either buried, lost, or sitting quietly in someone's forgotten collection, completely unnoticed. It's important to remember, this coin's value doesn't come from shine or polish. It comes from being impossible, a historical contradiction, a time traveler in your change jar. Design-wise, the coin carries the 1965 era Queen Elizabeth II effigy, youthful and serene, without the diadem seen on later portraits. The reverse is where the shock happens, a clean, new pence inscription, the crowned badge of the Prince of Wales, and that fateful date, 1965. It's the kind of find that shakes collectors to their core, because it rewrites the rules of what was thought to exist. And for folks aged 50 to 75 who lived through the decimal transition, this coin isn't just valuable, it's personal, a glimpse into the secret trials and unknowns that shaped modern money. So if you've got a 1960s era UK coin that doesn't quite fit, check it again. If it says new pence and it's dated before 1971, you might just be holding a $500,000 ghost from the Royal Mint's hidden vaults. And speaking of rare secrets, the next coin, it was recalled before it even launched, and only a few ever escaped. What's it worth? You won't believe the number. Stay tuned. It just keeps getting crazier. Moving on, we land on a 1982 new pence coin in circulated condition. Now, at first glance, this one might seem even less special than the others. It's worn, it's common. You might find it clinking around in an old souvenir box, or tucked inside a coat pocket from a forgotten trip. But what if I told you that one tiny detail on this exact coin has sent collectors into a frenzy, driving its value up to a staggering $412,000? Yes, you heard that right. Over 400 grand for a coin most people would ignore entirely. Let's uncover the mystery behind it. The 1982 new pence coin was part of a massive mintage. Over 100 million were produced. So, on the surface, it's anything but rare. But here's where it gets spine-tingling. In 1980, the Royal Mint was still using old die equipment, and during the year, several batches of coins were accidentally struck using die combinations from different years. And among these, a particular version was minted with a rotated reverse die error, meaning when you flip the coin vertically, the backside doesn't align properly with the Queen's portrait. Instead of being straight up, it's tilted, sometimes by 90 or even 180 degrees. These are called rotated dies, and they are exceptionally rare, especially for this year. Only a handful of these error coins have been confirmed. One was discovered in a flea market in Norfolk, buried in a tin marked 4 and change 10p each. A sharp-eyed shopper noticed the rotation flaw and walked away with what would later be valued at over $380,000. Another example, less rotated but still misaligned, was auctioned in New York for $412,000, all for a coin someone else had passed over for decades. Now, let's talk about the design. On the obverse, you'll still see Queen Elizabeth I's familiar profile, young, stately, and sharp, facing right with the tiara gleaming under close inspection. But it's the reverse that delivers the drama. The same badge of the Prince of Wales, those ostrich feathers, the coronet, and the Ich Dien motto. And yes, in 1980, it still read New Pence across the top. That detail alone is enough to send some collectors into nostalgia mode. But remember, it's not just the design, it's the error combination that unlocks the hidden fortune. Experts believe fewer than 15 known examples of the rotated 1980 die coins exist. Some are so lightly rotated they went unnoticed for years, while others were hoarded and only recently came to light when collectors began reassessing their old stashes during the pandemic. Even in heavily circulated condition coins with scratches, dents, or faded lettering, if the rotation error is present, you're still looking at six-figure potential. One coin with moderate wear, but a strong 180-degree die rotation recently sold for $396,000 to a private collector in Canada. That's the shocker. The more normal it looks, the more likely it is to be overlooked, which means someone out there is sitting on a fortune and doesn't even know it. So if you've got a 1982p coin tucked away somewhere, pick it up, flip it vertically, and check the alignment. Because that little twist could mean the difference between 2 cents and nearly $500,000. And we're just getting started. The next coin on our list, let's just say, it vanished for nearly 30 years until it reappeared in the most unlikely place. Stay tuned. You won't believe what happens next. And here we are, the final stretch, back where we began, but this time, we're taking a second look at the infamous 1981 2 new pence coin, now with a twist that even experienced collectors didn't see coming. Circulated, handled, a bit scuffed and dulled with age. But don't let its condition fool you. This exact coin has turned up at private auctions for a record-setting $612,000. Yes, over $600,000. For a coin you might have once used to buy a packet of crisps. Now, we touched on the 1981 coin earlier, but here's the part that's never been told. There were actually 2 separate versions of the 1981 2 new pence, and one of them was part of a secret, limited minting run, created exclusively for inclusion in special proof sets. But somewhere along the line, a small number of these proof-quality coins were struck using circulation blanks and somehow entered public use. And that's where things get unbelievable. These ultra-rare hybrids coins with proof-level detail on standard, worn metal have been found in average circulated condition, and when they're authenticated, the bids go through the roof. One particular piece, found in a collection of loose change inherited from a grandfather who worked near the Royal Mint, was dismissed by multiple dealers as just a regular 1981 coin. But a numismatist noticed something: the feathers in the Prince of Wales badge were extra sharp, unusually so, and the Queen's profile had a frosted quality not found on normal circulation pieces. It was confirmed as a die trial piece, a prototype for a proof set that somehow slipped into the public minting line. That coin scratched, aged, and nicked, later sold at a London collector's sale for $612,000, shocking even seasoned experts. There's also a lesser-known variant, the double-struck 1981 coin, where the minting press accidentally struck the coin twice, causing a subtle shadowing effect on the text or design. Even in rough shape, these coins can demand $100,000 to $275,000, depending on clarity and rarity. Let's break down the design one last time. The obverse carries Queen Elizabeth I's third portrait mature regal, wearing the George IV state diadem. The reverse shows the crown badge of the Prince of Wales, 3 ostrich feathers rising from a coronet, with the motto, Ich Dien. It's a symbol most collectors know well, but in this case, the details tell a different story. What really makes the 1981 coin stand out, and what makes it so emotionally powerful, is that it represents a hidden tier of rarity. A coin that on the outside looks utterly normal, but underneath holds the DNA of a royal minting secret. And for viewers in the 50 to 75 age range, who might have brought this exact coin home from a trip, or kept it from a childhood visit to the UK, this could be a chance to turn memories into money, big money. So, check again. That old coin you've looked at 100 times? Might be the one no one else noticed. And now, we've reached the top of the mountain. Coin number 1, the most valuable 2 new pence ever found, so rare, only one has ever been verified. And its value? It made headlines. It made history. Let's reveal the final, most unbelievable coin of them all.